Hello everybody! How are you all today? I have been sort of mostly tinkering and getting things figured out around here, but I have done some work over there, and it's enough, but it's obviously going to need a lot more to it. And the reason that enclosure over there is not complete right now is because I'm actually filming this about a day or two after the last log got shipped out by the buoy. And firstly, we have a name for this craft now. It has been quite delightfully called the Gremlin, and the Gremlin is very nice. It's very handy to have, but for some significant problems. So it is capable of moving in all directions. I made sure it's got enough thrusters so it can actually be facing in basically any direction I should wish to rotate it. But this is the Gremlin when it is completely empty. And it currently weighs about 25 tons. Now, that is a respectable weight for a small ship like this, and it's not like a huge ask, but oh right, yes, the landing legs on this thing are still on auto lock. Thank you. Off. There we are. But with the small thrusters, it's nimble. It's svelte, I guess is the phrase. And if we transfer, let's use steel plates as our metric here. If we transfer from the storage of the manufacturing over into the Gremlin a mere, let's say 200 steel plates, that adds another 4 tons. And then I discovered it can barely lift itself. If we go to, oh yeah, it's really struggling. If we go to the highfalutin incredible volume of 300, let's just add another 100 into here. It can only very barely move, and there is significant trouble here because my ASS can carry more than that. Like, with just these things on me, which is what I tend to have on me anyways, it can actually carry 302. Which is to say that right now, with the small thrusters, the Gremlin is less useful than my ASS. It can build more things in an area, it can build faster, but its actual capacity is not worth running it. It's not worth the power. So I actually need to revise that. Now, I've done some math, and I have worked out that we have basically 3 scales of cargo container. And by the numbers, the small one is rated for about 125 liters, the medium one is rated for about 3.3 thousand liters, and the big one, of course, is rated for 15.6 thousand. We can see those over here. Here, the Rover only has mediums, and the Avondale has only the one large, right there, yeah. And volume is important to us in this equation for figuring out how many of a given material, component, whatever we want to shove into it. Mass is the important thing when we're thinking of thrust, how much and how many of these things we need. It's less important for the Rover, except for how much power we can shove into the wheels. Now, in the case of the Gremlin, it only has a medium storage container. It's not really a huge thing. It's not meant to be shipping mass quantities like the Avondale. It's just meant to be getting loaded up with stuff and then floated over to a building to fix stuff up, or potentially to a vehicle in the field if we need to do repairs that way. And the medium cargo container, again, has a max volume of 3,375, and steel plates, each one is a volume of 3 liters and a mass of 20 kilograms. So if we divide the maximum volume of the medium cargo container by 3, we get how many steel plates we could carry in it. From that, we can multiply it by 20 to find out how heavy that mass would be. And it turns out that a medium cargo container can carry a whopping 1,125 steel plates. But in so doing, it would be a mass of 22.5 tons more than what the Gremlin is over just sort of by itself. So that would be the whole mass of the Gremlin, which did we just empty this out? I don't think so. No, we did not. Okay, we need to turn that back nope, B. Okay, just shove those back in there. The Gremlin now weighs 25.186 tons, which means that the mass of the steel plates in that cargo container would be almost the entire weight of the Gremlin. And, as we've noted, the Gremlin struggles considerably, even when it's only carrying about 300 of them, about less than a third of that. So I need to rework this to have some significantly beefier thrusters on it. But, oh well, such is the nature of things in the field. Now, fortunately, I have some other calculations. These ones are a little bit more opaque, I'm not sure I understand them entirely, which say that we should be able to lift that whole mass, Gremlin and cargo and all, with just 2 of the large thrusters that we used on the Avondale. The downside is the Gremlin is so small that we're not going to be able to fit all, theoretically, 8, or, you know, all theoretically 12 thrusters pointing in all directions for that. So there will be a direction that the Gremlin will start to lose thrust in. Probably going to try and make sure that that's downwards, as it were. Like, if thruster's going up, but if it turns upside down, it should fall. I don't think there'll be a situation where I need to have the Gremlin upside down, but I'll need to bear that in mind and hopefully write that on a sticky note somewhere. Actually, can I craft sticky notes? Note to self. Investigate if this production facility can create sticky notes. Anyways, I'm gonna go quickly re-engineer that, and we'll get on with the rest of the log in probably like a day or two. Okay, the Gremlin is looking much beefier, but it is actually capable of leading its little dock there now, and it is pretty nimble, actually, when it's unloaded. It can't really survive going more than 90 degrees, but heck willing, will pretty much never have to go 90 degrees. That said, it can go, like, fully on the roll axis quite happily. Just gotta try and keep myself upright, and as a consequence, we now have a full enclosure around the hydrogen processing facility, and things have warmed up quite a lot in there. I went for a very kind of greenhouse design here, and it looks pretty nice, I gotta say. Very toasty, very toasty. And if we just park ourselves, let's see if I can actually land this thing but easily. It is very wide. I will say that it's a very beefy Gremlin. Should be there. There we go. Okay. So if we ponder through, yeah, it looks really nice. Very nice. And also, yep, I borrowed pretty much the same programming I made for the Avondale, so there is a computer down there that's actually just controlling both of these doorways in much the same way that the side doors of the Avondale are, so they will close automatically, keep the heat in, make things decently warm. It's not, like, magnificently warm, there isn't actually really much of a central heating system, it's mostly heated by the machines, but still, it's decently warm, so I'm okay with that, personally. And let's just top that back up, thank you. And I have added some controls to the engines here, so we can actually just turn them on and off with a push of a button, and that is mostly just in case we actually have, like, any, like, significant dearth of ice for a while, which is quite possible because this place chews through ice really, really quickly. I should have really seen that coming, considering that there's about 20 O2H2 generators here. But, oi, yeah, it's effective. I'll give it that. We've got some nice lights around. We've got readouts showing how much hydrogen versus power we have. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. And that should now mean... Oh, we are actually running a little low on the hydrogen. Yeah, we're gonna need to get a lot more ice. That shouldn't be hard to come by. Can't imagine where we would find ice. You know, middle of nowhere, where we're gonna find ice. But yeah, so that's looking good. I don't know if I'll actually bother making one for the mine, because right now it's not really like a place for humans, really, honestly. Like, here is actually meant to be a place that gets visited a fair bit for processing ice, because we get so much. But over there, not really sure. Not really sure. We're probably going to be dismantling this gantry at some point as well. Create this into a kind of refueling depot of some kind. But that is that, and it looks quite nice. I do very much enjoy these sort of greenhouses next to it. And our next thing for this particular log, of course, is more or less building a bunch of these. And that is troublesome for us. This is the simple reason that we're going to need to put wind turbines on them. We could try using solar panels, but especially in the valley around here, we're not going to end up with a whole ton of sun coverage, really. And solar panels aren't really that powerful, even here. Especially with the way that just all the light gets reflected by the snow anyways. So we need a bunch of these just sort of arrayed in the direction of the chalet, so that when there's a big snowstorm, or we get a whole ton of fog or mist or whatever, we can still actually navigate because we'll be able to see the blinking lights in the distance. And we can't really do that at the distance of the chalet with regards to these red and yellow. And I think for these ones we'll probably be going for like a light green kind of color. Indicate ground, I guess. But yeah, we need to sort of like outline a route traveling 5.6 kilometers, apparently, of very streamlined sort of like limited stations that are just essentially a wind turbine and a battery, probably, just in case inclement weather prevents them from actually charging very much, and a rotor that's just spinning a pair of spotlights. So let me see if we can quickly prototype something like that, and then I can get a whole ton of them just ordered up inside of here, and then we can just shove them into the gremlin and get going. That'll be pretty handy. I will say that I haven't managed to figure out what the problem is with the assemblers, why they seem to default to assembler 2 as opposed to assembler 1, but I have made a solution to this, which is, if we go to production, we'll see we're at assembler 1. I just renamed it, basically. I just renamed assemblers 1 and 2 to each and the other, and then I flipped their status for cooperative, and now it just starts at one that actually does everything. So that's nice. Not great, but it works, I guess. So anyways, let's see if we can't prototype ourselves something resembling a start. And I think the obvious thing to do here is to start with a... let's try and build this over here, just so we're not actually just mounted to that, because that will give us confusions when it comes to our batteries and all sorts. So let's grab that. Okay, and then on top of this, depends on how high do we want to make this. I mean, that's not very high. I feel like it needs to be at least one taller before we have the actual spotlights. Like, that seems more meaningful to me, in which case we can get rid of that. Add a basic rotor, doesn't need to be very complicated. And then on top of that, we can add that. And now the sneaky thing, which is that if you have a rotating spotlight, and on top of that you put a wind turbine, you're going to be counteracting your own rotation, which means you're going to be losing power quite significantly. But I don't really want to make this too wide on the basis that then I'll have all manner of troubles with when the spotlights get occluded and such, which is kind of against the whole idea. So, if we take a rotor and we turn it upside down, we might be able to get this working. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to have to be a little sneaky here. adjusts because the system doesn't like placing them in such a fashion. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna like that either. Okay. Because it doesn't like to be added in such a fashion. Okay, right. This is gonna be interesting. Suffice it to say. Right. Quick little mock-up, I think. I don't know if the wind turbine is going to enjoy this, that's for sure, because it doesn't seem very happy with its present lot to begin with. But basic concept seems to be intact. So we've got a battery, some form of power supply, and then rotors controlling the orientation of two spotlights. So if we first take these and put rotor lock on them, we can then set one of these to be, let's see, velocity, let's say negative 0.5, and the other one to be positive 0.5, and then we simultaneously turn off the rotor lock on both of them. Then we should see, indeed, that the top structure remains perfectly stationary, whereas the interior structure with the spotlights actually rotates. And that should theoretically mean that we can get access to, like, a stationary top section, but it might just be that that's not gonna work out. Next question, I guess, is how much power are these using? Like, what's the status on the battery here? Fully depleted in 6 days. Okay. So, if I just get rid of that rotor and that wind turbine and replace that with a solar panel, will that be sufficient to just keep it going, I wonder? Like, if it goes to the recharge section, then that should mean it's more or less fine. Well, let's give it a shot. And then I can just code these into a blueprint, just pack them up inside the gremlin, and off we go. Well, that's fine, I'll just dump them in the gremlin then. The gremlin does not have much in terms of ease of access, but it's fine. Okay, so solar panel, let's try that. Wind turbine's not playing nice, so we'll try using a solar panel. Which I can't really center. That's irritating. That's really irritating, but let's see if it at least works. Yeah, I'm certain I didn't have enough on me for that, but nonetheless. I will say that I have learned that bulletproof glass is apparently very intensive with a lot of these modules. Like, it took me so long to get all of the glass together on that enclosure, and honestly, I don't know if that kind of building is going to be a common feature. It was a good, like, test case, but I think it's going to be a situation where most places just have relatively small windows. Cargo container, thank you. There we go. Of course, it does help that the sun's setting right about now, doesn't it? Just sort of my luck. No? There we go. Okay. Let's park the gremlin, which of course is now really struggling with its power, but c'est la vie, I guess. The main thing is that we need this thing to be generating enough power to go through a prolonged period with no power. So how's this battery? Fully recharged in 2 days, and it's not even in direct sunlight. So it might actually be doing just fine. It's just a matter of making that look a little less lopsided, I think. And then we can just, like, dial up the rotation rate of the rotor. So, what's the rotation rates of over there? Let's find out. Let's see, I don't know which one this is, but, well, velocity is 1. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's 1. So we dial that up to 1. Actually, it feels like a lot more than 1. Let's pop over, shall we? Pop over to the control panel over here and see what it says. It's relatively important that these stay decently cohesive. No? Am I seriously not getting... Like, there's... Oh, I... Betcha I know why. Betcha I know why. There we are. Yep. Velocity is -8. Okay. Yeah. Of course I hit them so that somebody wouldn't walk up and just, like, accidentally turn them off or something. Of course. Of course. Yeah. So something very much like that. And if the power... It's not, like, fully dark here. Fully recharged, 14 hours. Yeah, this should be keeping up quite happily. So stuff like this, dotted across the wasteland that is our wonderful country. And, we should be able to find our way even under the most inclement of weather conditions. So let's see if I can just, like, figure out how to actually clone this, because Lord knows, I was aware that there was a system update that came through with one of the more recent data logs, and that means that apparently I can copy stuff into a blueprint form by using the actual on-build, like, module basis stuff. I wasn't paying that much attention, but it said something about being able to, like, map stuff that we've built, so we can just clone it, like make a new Gremlin, make a new Avondale, especially make a new Rover, that sort of thing. But I cannot for life remember what it was. Oh boy. I figured it out, and it's fairly straightforward, actually. I just sort of gotta hold up my hand and say, clone? Hey, we got it. Okay, so if I just keep that here, then I should be able to access that when we go to use one of the projectors. Now, I have retooled it quite a bit, and there is a slight shortcoming of the projector system, which is that we are pretty much going to have to build this top section by hand every single time, which is not a huge problem, it's just a pain in the butt. But basically by switching to a small rotor head, we are able to actually build a thing that is at least decently balanced, so this works quite nicely now. And it still seems to be erring on the side of charging. It says charging a lot more frequently than it says depleting at the very least, so it's probably fine for the most part. Obviously, it's gonna go down more to the depleting part whenever it's in, like, the midst of a weather anomaly of some description, that kind of thing. But it also says depleted in, like, 16 days, and at least thus far, we haven't had any weather that's lasted quite that long. So if I take this, and I go and drop a bunch of base stations and whatnot, and a few projectors onto them, and oh wait, we're gonna need power, aren't we? Well, at least this design is fairly simplistic to replicate, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. So, I should be able to just grab this, dot it across the landscape in that direction, and we should be able to find our way, so hurrah for that! The next thing, though, I probably want to be taking the Avondale for this trip because it's going to be quite a ways, and this thing only really has like half an hour of power at best, so let me just park you. And just gotta aim for the light. There we go. Still need some kind of actual, like, landing point for that, but hey, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, let's take the Avondale for this. Because I need to go and head over to, essentially, the other side of the chalet, which is just over here. Okay, so over here, behind us with the iron mine and whatnot is where we're going to be having most of the industrial stuff. We want to make sure that most of the industrial stuff is away from the majority of town, because we don't really want to be seeing that causing pollution and noise and all sorts, and also it means that we can put potentially much more dangerous things there and the like. And I am chiefly concerned with putting over this crest, which is where the chalet is, the actual majority of our like habitational kind of areas. So the spaces where we have things like houses and homes and private workshops and stores and schools and medical facilities, that kind of thing. Well, you know, the weather's coming in as I head over here anyways. Figures. Figures. But we are just passing over the chalet, and if we look over to our right, if I just come to a near stop at the very least, we can see we have a fairly flat area. This is a pretty, well, we would be able to see if it weren't for the weather at the very least. But yeah, if we look over there, we can see we've got a fairly decently flat area, and we should be able to turn that as it's also like buffeted by mountains, which is really nice for just like controlling the weather scenario. But if we take that, we should be able to place a bunch of housing. Probably not in this weather, but such is the way of things in New Millennia. But fortunately we have like 2 hours of power for the most part, so it's not hard for us to get to and fro. And let's actually stop at the chalet, because I haven't been at the chalet in so long. So let's actually stop over here, because it's been a while and I miss my bed. I miss my bed quite dearly, actually. This is presuming that I can actually find the dang thing. So let's get our landing guide down. I should be able to just park right outside it. Okay, how low am I? From the surface, about 80 meters. $40 meters. I don't think I have a landing strip big enough for the Avondale over here. Okay, 15. There's the end. There we go. Okay, just get that back up. It is such a handy little feature, that. Whew, okay, yeah, by the skin of my teeth there a little bit. But it's good to be home, and home I have some upgrades to make to you, because I can actually make these doors smarter now. Yay! Oh. Oh. So nice. So nice. Okay. Nice to see you've kept yourself toasty. Oh, I do love the look of that. Anyways, that is probably all that I can get done with this weather. So I hope you've all enjoyed. Look out for all of the waymarkers in the next log. And I will catch you all, as ever, from here in New Millennia. And next time. Your eyes are getting heavy. Your mind is feeling clouded. The sound of my voice is relaxing you. You feel an urge to support this and other content I produce by going to patreon.com/lying, where you can pledge and receive fun rewards for your obedience. You will remember to support patreon.com/lying.